there, welcome back. It's 2023. Happy New Year. It's our first brand new video content of the year, and it is Street Fighter League Roundup time. Hello, I'm Logan Sama, your host every week as we round up the exciting action from Street Fighter League across the 3 regions. Now, of course, we know that Street Fighter League Pro Japan had their playoffs this week, the first stage, and that was played behind the wall of pay-per-view. We're not going to be covering that until it's broadcast with the English commentary on the Capcom Fighters channel for free viewing. We don't want to spoil that for all you guys that haven't seen it yet. But let's round up Europe and USA. It's an exciting picture as we look at the playoff picture coming to a fully formed state. There's only a couple more weeks left, so let's see exactly what happened this week, starting off with Europe. What's going on? Welcome to Street Fighter League. It's week 13 here in Street Fighter League Pro Europe, and it's make or break time for one of these teams. Let's get into our first match, and it's going to be Team GO, who are looking for points to give them some semblance of safety as Team Reason are breathing down their necks. They're going up against Wild Blast, who, despite having a very disappointing end to the season, are now starting to show a bit of flair. GO put forward a lineup with team captain Luffy stepping up first on Mika. In the second spot, it was Akainu, who is back once again on Guile, and their ever-reliable Valmaster in the anchor role, of course, with Chun-Li. Wild Blast throwing us off the scent, and it was Jimmy that stepped up to face Luffy's Mika. Luffy soon had to switch over to Rose for the Ryu matchup, and this showed exactly why. Luffy managed to close out the win after going one down, and it's great to see him getting results with this character that means so much to him. No one epitomizes the disappointing form of Wild Blast quite like Takamura, who unfortunately is still searching for his first win. Akainu gifted him this huge miscalculation, and Takamura gladly accepted it for the first game.
I was going to say, it wasn't like enough.
That momentum was all he needed to give him the confidence, and Akainu cracks here Takamura with his first win of the season here in week 13. So it's a third and final game, and we are looking at the 2 most consistent players for these teams, as it's Momi facing Valmaster in a runback of their previous meeting. Valmaster was setting up the conditioning early, and these 3 throws in a row closed out game number 1 in the corner. In game 2, despite the danger of those resources that Valmaster's sitting on, Momi gets the low forward and levels it up 1-1. Momi showed that he was able to rely on the throws himself, and he pulls ahead into a 2-1 lead. This beautiful whiff punish pushed him into set point position, but Valmaster was ready with a whiff punish of his own.
Oh my day.
This critical art taking us to a final game. Valmaster landed this big crush counter combo for an unsurmountable lead, and then was able to close it out with the threat of the V-trigger. It was a 30-10 victory for Team GO. Team captain Luffy happy with the consistency of Valmaster.
Whenever I see him play, I mean, Chun-Li is broken, Valmaster is broken, it's good.
Into our second match, and it was BMS going up against Reason, who were in a position now where they must win 40-0. BMS lineup looking very familiar, with Killsy first with Karin, TKR second with Chun-Li, and Mr. Crimson in the anchor role on Dalsim. Trying to get a powerful start, Reason sent up Soundboy first to go up against Killsy. Soundboy willing to use V-Trigger 1 here for the first time in Street Fighter League, but it was the EX Zonk, the old faithful, that got the kill. Killsy survives this big mistake and is still able to close out the round and the game.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Despite this huge combo from Soundboy, Killsy was still able to make him crack, and the critical art was just enough to carry him over the line. The crush counter combo into the meaty situation gets for game, and Soundboy guessed wrong. It was a 2-0 victory for Killsy.
Oh my god, I'm such a big fan, bro. Such a big fan.
In our second game, we had 2 big fans showing their love for each other. That's right, it was MQS and TKR, 2 of the biggest personalities, but also 2 very dangerous players here on Street Fighter League Pro Europe. TKR showing just why he's dangerous with this awesome anti-air V-trigger combo into CA for the first game, and he managed to take the 2-0 with what is becoming the signature backdash into CA from Chun-Li here on Street Fighter League Pro Europe. Our final match was Mr. Crimson, and he was going up against Shivs, who'd locked in with Laura. And this Laura pick looked to be inspired, as Shivs managed to take the first game. But Crimson, shaking off the cobwebs despite losing his first set this season last week to Phenom, started to bring it back. The momentum started to snowball, and 2 games back-to-back put Crimson in an insurmountable lead. And it was an insurmountable wall of limbs as Shivs was searching for the V-trigger activation that never came Crimson with the 3-1 victory. Let's take a look at the leaderboard, and with 2 weeks to go, you can see that the top 4 is now locked in. Reason Gaming, with only 1 match left, are more than 40 points off the running. Today's result was not enough, and that means that the 4 teams that are at the top of the leaderboard will be going to the playoffs, but in which order? We'll find out. Next week's going to be a huge one, and we have got those 4 teams in action. 00 Nation versus Mouse and Geo versus BMS in another All-France showdown.
And only the bold will cross it. This is Street Fighter League.
We saw it in the new year at Street Fighter League Pro US with Week 11. 2 big fixtures this week as NASA X Bandits and CLG fight it out in the playoff spots. And emerging UYU are in incredible form. They're going up against Endemic, who are flying high with a great record at the moment. CLG were on the away side, and they put forward a lineup of Just a Kid on Jury, Samurai on Luke, and Chris CCH also on Luke with Filipino Man sitting on the sidelines. It was Kaba that stepped up for the first match against Just a Kid, and his guile had Jury locked down with a 2-0 win. 2 of the deadliest players right now on Street Fighter League. Samurai goes up against Angry Bird in this matchup with Ken versus Luke. Angry Bird was ready as always with this dash check for the KO. Against one of the best rushdowns in Street Fighter League, Samurai would not be pressured, and he let the EXDPs fly when he was set point down. But in the end, it was not enough, and Angry Bird gets the final KO for a 2-0 win. Going into the anchor match, and it meant that Chris CCH was playing for his team's survival. Mena steps up fighting for the 40-point win. And whilst it may have worked for Samurai, the EXDP didn't work for Chris CCH in the first game, and Mena gladly takes that. You'll have to take our word for it that Chris CCH leveled it at 1 apiece as the KO happens off screen, and this mirror match was perfectly poised as Mena gets the CA into the light to take a 2-1 lead. Chris CCH wasn't going down without a fight, and he fights off set point here by staying in with the corner pressure, but Mena underlines an incredible performance from NASA X Bandits with a perfect score of 40 points on the board. In our second match, it was Endemic up against UYU, who are flying high at the moment with momentum. You can see the lineup with GamerB on Lucia, Shine with Ibuki, and Idom with Laura, as Do is the one on the sub bench at the moment. It was NL that stepped up to face GamerB in our first match. GamerB always makes Lucia look deadly, and her pressure paid off to take a 1-0 lead. And whilst we might be used to seeing NL let off the EXs, his patience paid off with this lead, getting him the timeout win. Whilst he was happy to take the throws, he was happy to give them out himself, as this throw took the 2-1 win, and UYU move into the lead. With Shine on Ibuki, it was Sen that stepped up to face him with Seth. And whilst Shine displayed great defense for the V-trigger, it was only a stay of execution as Shen got the first win. Shine switched over to Cody, but in the end it was not enough to stop Sien, and he closed out a comfortable 2-0. So at 20 points down, Idom steps up, and he is going to be facing Oilkin, who's also locked in with Seth here this week. Idom showing his knowledge here with the early V reversal, Oilkin not able to punish, and Idom closes out the first game. There was no V reversal escape here though, and Oilkin frame traps to bring it to 1-1. The momentum started to shift though to Idom, and the grabs added up here. 2 command grabs gave him the 2-1 lead. And in the end, the offensive runaway train that is Idom managed to close out a 3-1 win, 20 points each, which means that we're going to a tiebreaker. And who was it that was going to step up off the bench? Of course, it was DCQ, who locks in with the Urian. Set point down, DCQ was in a stare down with Idom, but he comes out on top, gets the Aegis Reflector, and we go into a final round. That strategy didn't work in the final round though, and Idom was able to stop DCQ, getting that V-trigger off and closed out with the throw bait here, and it's a 25-20 point victory, which is great for both teams who are currently, as you can see on the leaderboard, flying high and pretty secure in their playoff placings. Endemic stay ahead of the pack with NASA X Bandits, and UIU are top of the rest with a nice cushion between them and CLG, thanks to that 20-point loss. Next week, Red Rooster are going to be facing Endemic, and whilst technically their season isn't over, it's going to be a huge ask for the PR team. And then match 2 is an absolute barnstormer as UIU look to continue their positive form by facing the top of the table NASA X Bandits, who are flying right now. All right, that's the action in Europe and the US. As I said, Japan held their playoffs on pay-per-view, and that will be rebroadcast real soon on Capcom Fighters. In fact, you should be heading over to Capcom Fighters and catching up with all the action in full, the fully archived shows, and some of the individual matches between these teams cut out for you to enjoy in a condensed format as well. Of course, we will be covering the Japan playoffs when they are broadcast, but what we want you to do right now is please get in those comments below. I want to know who your MVP was for this week. Every week, we want to know which player impressed you the most across all of the different regions that were active in Street Fighter League. Get involved, get down. Don't forget as well, please make sure you give us a sub, give us a follow as well on Twitter. That's reversal_GG. And of course, all of our live content continues over on Twitch. That's reversal_GG. So give that a follow as well. Hit the heart, hit the thumbs up on this one, and we'll see you next week for more roundup content. We'll of course be looking at Street Fighter League, but the rest of the tournaments that are picking up in 2023. It's going to be an amazing year for fighting games. I hope you guys are ready, because we are right here on Reversal. We'll see you next week.